This is the dynamic warm-up, used to prepare your muscles for game time. You can perform these exercises on any surface, and each exercise should be performed about 20 steps down and back the length of a basketball court. The first exercise is the Frankenstein walk, or alternating leg kicks. Step forward and reach your arm out to shoulder height and try to kick the palm of your hand with your toes. Reach your arm across your body so that you can kick directly forward with your leg. Your kicking leg should never cross midline. We are dynamically stretching the hamstring, which inserts below the knee, so to get maximum stretch, you need to keep the knee straight. Repeat with the other leg and continue down the court and back. Next is the walking arabesque. Step forward and bend over until your torso is parallel to the floor while simultaneously reaching forward with one arm and lifting the leg on the same side back. Come back to an upright position and take a step forward with the other foot and perform an arabesque so you end up in a capital T position. Try to keep your hips even rather than letting the hip of the leg that is off the ground rotate upwards. This happens if you have tight hamstrings. Even if doing this keeps you from getting your back leg parallel to the floor when you try to lift it up, that's okay. That's a goal to work towards. It's very common to fall over the first few attempts at this exercise. Before you start, contract your abdominals and try to keep them tight during the whole exercise, as that will help you keep your balance. Next is the walking quad stretch and walking butt kicks. For the walking quad stretch, reach one arm directly overhead, bend your knee, and reach back with the opposite hand to grab your foot. Contract your glutes and extend your hip, kicking your foot into your hand. Now try to bring your heel to your buttocks while keeping your hip extended. Take a step forward and complete the stretch with the other leg. The knee of the leg being stretched should be behind the other knee. If you cannot grab your foot with the opposite hand, use the hand on the same side as the leg being stretched. Do this the width of the court or about 20 steps. Once you're at the end of the court and ready to return to the starting position, start the walking leg kicks. Walk and try to kick the heel of one foot to your glute with each step. Avoid flexing at the hip when you kick back. Work to keep the knee behind the other knee so that the quad is put on a maximum stretch and the hamstring contracts dynamically with each step. Next is hip opening and closing. For hip opening, flex the hip to 90 degrees and bring your knee out until it's parallel to your body. Let it drop and step forward, then perform the hip opening with the other leg. Keep the knee bent as you bring it out. You can use a Swiss ball or box to make sure the hip remains flexed throughout the movement. For hip closing, the reverse is performed. Start with the knee parallel to the hip and bring it forward until it is in neutral, keeping the hip flexed to 90 degrees. Repeat with the other leg. Perform about 20 steps of hip opening and then 20 of hip closing. Next is the walking lunge with a twist. Take a huge step and lunge into the forward leg, bringing the opposite elbow across your body and touching it to the outside of your knee. Contract your glutes, push off the front foot, and step immediately into a lunge with the back leg. Stepping into the lunge rather than stepping your feet together first makes you aggressively fire your glutes and it challenges your balance. Perform about 20 steps down and back. Next is lateral lunges. Stand and take a large step out with one foot wider than shoulder width, keeping your feet parallel. The knee immediately flexes upon landing to sink down into a lunge, while the other knee remains fully extended. Move back to midline and push off to bring your feet together. Repeat, traveling the width of the court or about 20 steps. Return lunging out with the other leg. A common mistake during the lateral lunge is keeping the trunk too upright, causing the knee to move out way over the toes as you bend down. This loads the knee joint. Make sure to hinge at the waist and reach back with your glutes to keep your knee from moving out too far over your toes. A trick is to keep the weight on your heel when you lunge down and wiggle your toes. Last is power skipping, followed by sprinting and backpedaling. First, a few laps of power skipping. Start with very small skips, really flexing the hip up as high as possible. On each consecutive lap, try to jump higher and higher. Make sure when you land your knee is slightly bent so you don't injure yourself. Do 3 laps of power skipping, increasing the height of your jumps with each lap. After power skipping, start sprinting and backpedaling. Simply sprint down to one end of the court and return with the back pedal. Start at about 50% speed, then 75% speed, then finish at 100% speed. The dynamic warm-up should only take about 10 to 15 minutes. Make sure by the time you finish you've broken a sweat so you know your muscles are warm and ready for play.